this video I want to talk about the 4 steps that anyone can take, anyone who is dealing with hair loss, who wants to overcome it. Well, this is exactly what I did, and I've been dealing with hair loss for over 9 years now in total. It took me 6 years to actually get started, and then I also had to spend over $15,000 trying to get my hair back. So I'm going to share with you exactly what I did, how I could have avoided everything, and what you can do yourself today. So the main thing is that when you're dealing with hair loss, it is so tempting to do everything that you can possibly think of. You want to fix it today, and I really understand that, but there's something that is a little bit more important. What I recommend is that you do the 4 steps I'm about to share with you in order. So the first thing that you can do is to actually make sure you know exactly what kind of hair loss you are suffering from. Because if you don't know what you're suffering from, if you don't know what the problem is, it's also very difficult to solve it. Because if you don't know what you're solving for, what the problem is, how can you actually solve it? So what I recommend is that you actually get it figured out what the kind of hair loss is. And you can talk to your doctor, your general practitioner, trichologist, dermatologist, anything like that, and maybe even get multiple opinions, get a scalp biopsy done, whatever you need to do. But the first thing you need to know is that you need to start with what the problem actually is. If you don't know it, I highly recommend that you just start there. Don't overcomplicate it, just start there. And it shouldn't take too long. Actually, it's quite easy or quite fast to figure it out. Then we know exactly what the problem is. Hooray! Or actually not, because now we know what the problem is. Now we need to actually solve the problem. And if you're watching this, it's very likely that you are suffering from some kind of male genetic hair loss, just like I do, just like over 80% of men who are 80 years or older do. It is very normal. It is very normal. It's part of the course, but we can actually fix it. So step 2, or step 1 was diagnosing, evaluation. Step 2 was maintenance, because now we know what the problem is. Now we just need to keep what we have. That is the main objective. Just keep what you have. Build that stable foundation. Make sure you don't lose more than you have, because it's so important or so tempting to do everything that you can think of, but it's better to just do everything step by step. So make sure you actually maintain. What I use to maintain is finasteride. I use 1.25 milligrams every single day. Maybe you need a different dose, maybe you need a different frequency, maybe you need an entirely different form, maybe you need something else entirely, maybe you need dutasteride, for example. But this is something that you can figure out, but I highly recommend that you fully go into the step and maximize it. Because it's just so tempting to do much more than that, but just keep doing that, because it can already take you up to a year to fully figure out if you're actually maintaining. But once you know you maintain, and by the way, you can measure maintenance by just taking good progress pictures every single month. Crazy hack, I know. But if you just do that, eventually you will learn what works for you, and I'm so certain that you will find a combination of treatment and frequency and dose that works for you 100%. And the cool part is that is actually the most difficult part. That's the most difficult part, just keeping what you have. But once you know that, and to me it took me a year, once you know that, that's when you can focus on moving on to step number 3. Step number 3 is regrowth, and getting your hair back these days is actually possible because of a miracle called minoxidil. I really like minoxidil myself, or actually I've been using it myself for a year, and I've been quite liking it quite a bit. But just regrowing your hair isn't as easy as just saying, oh, just use minoxidil, because again, you have to think about the dosages, you have to think about the forms, you have to think about how you're using it and adding it to your routine, everything like that. But you can use minoxidil to actually regrow your hair. I've been using that for around a year now. And then you're thinking, well, that sounds great, regrowing my hair, like I know the problem, I am stopping the problem, I can regrow on top of that. What is the 4th step? The 4th step is hair transplant. And what I did is that I first figured out the problem, then I maintained from a problem. But then when I knew I was maintaining from a problem, I also knew that I was very far gone. My hair was pretty much gone. My hairline nearly touched my crown. That's how bad it really was. And so I was like, well, I can use minoxidil for a while, but because I'm so far gone, I don't think it's going to do too much for me. So instead, I opted to go for the hair transplant instantly. I didn't touch minoxidil for a really long time, even though I knew I would eventually start it. Because when you're getting a hair transplant done, it's recommended to just stop minoxidil because, well, many reasons. This is not that kind of video. But what I did, again, evaluation, maintenance, and that's when I started with a hair transplant. And then a year after the hair transplant, like 1.5 years, I fully recovered from the hair transplant. And then I was like, okay, now I can do even more. I knew the exact results of just doing the hair transplant alone. And now I can add minoxidil. So evaluation, maintenance, regrowth, hair transplant. The first two are mandatory. You need to do this in this order as well. The second two you can do however you want. Doesn't really matter what I did. I did the hair transplant first, and afterwards I did the minoxidil. And that's basically my entire story. That's exactly what I did to overcome my hair loss. It's been a very long process, and this has been very painful to learn for me as well. But after following through my own process and also helping hundreds of other men overcome the hair loss as well, that is the strategy that I came up with. And if you want the complete blueprint, if you click below, you can go to a link called school.com/hairloss, and it will have the entire blueprint right there, completely for free for you. So you can just take it for yourself, use it for yourself, and do the things that would have saved me years of misery, years of unhappiness, and also spending over $15,000 trying to get my hair back. And that's basically it. So if you want any more videos like this, be sure to let me know. And if you're interested in actually recovering your hair, or if you want help with choosing the right hair transplant for you, because boy, there are a couple bad options out there, or many bad options actually, definitely let me know below by joining school.com/hairloss. Join the community completely for free. If you want more help, let me know. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.